sit-down video, not just like me doing this. It's a sit-down video and I'm excited. So basically, hey guys, it's Chaos, and I'm wearing a pink shirt and it says go pink or go home, and I feel great. So basically, it's a Friday, the lighting is bomb, and I'm with my sister, and it's quiet in my house for once, so I'm like, hey, let's film. So I was thinking of ideas, and I was just like, what in the world am I supposed to do? And I was like, how about I just talk about my life? And then I was like, but that's boring. How about I do a story time video? Because story times are great. So let's go ahead and get in the video. But before we begin, make sure to give this video a like, a comment, a subscribe. Check out my Musical.ly, my Twitter, my Vine, my Instagram. Follow me on that. You can check the description below or on the screen and check out my last video. Let's go ahead. Okay, so basically it was about 3 months ago, and it was the time me and Nia, which is my cousin if you guys didn't know, if you're new to my channel, we were filming a video, and it was the winter expectations versus reality. We were filming a video, we were having fun, we were rocking out to music, we were listening to What Do You Mean, Same Old Love, we were listening to all this music, and we heard a knock on our door. And I was just like, who is that? So I was like, okay, maybe it's my neighbor, whatever. And I was like, but my neighbor, she's in Arizona. And why would she's in Arizona? Who's knocking on my door? So I was like, okay, let me just go check. So the music was still playing, and I looked, and it was just black, just pitch black. And I was just like, what? Why is it just pitch black? And then I told Nia, and I was like, Nia, it's black. And then she was like, what? And then she looked, and she was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, go turn the music off. So I turned the music off, so it would just be like, we're not home, go away. So basically, when the music was off, the person was ringing the doorbell, knocking on the doorbell, and I was just like, oh my gosh, leave. So we all were just quiet. We were just like, can they go away? And then basically we started to like hear the door shuffle, so like, you know, the knob like pushing it, and we were just like, nope, gotta blast. So we were like, oh my gosh, run into the pantry. So we hid in the pantry just because like, that's pretty creepy. I know it may not be like that big of a deal, just like, oh, they're just trying to get in or whatever, which is a big deal to me. So we were super scared because I've never really had an experience like this, and we were home alone, if you guys just wanted to know. And I was like, okay, what's going on? So I just ran to the pantry, and Nia grabbed a knife, a butter knife. Kidding, she grabbed this little orange knife, but it wasn't gonna do anything. We were like, okay, whatever. We'll just call our moms and just be like, hey mom, there's someone at the door. What do you want to do? We weren't really like panicking at the time, and then we heard like the door open, and we were just freaked out. We were like, oh my gosh. So I tried calling my mom, and my mom was like, I'm in an interview, I'm doing something, I can't talk. And I was like, mom. So she stopped, and then I talked to her, and she was like, okay, do this. She was just telling me stuff to do. And then before I called my mom, I called my auntie, which is Nia's mom, and she didn't answer. And then I called my dad, and he didn't answer either. So my mom was like my only source. And I know you might be like, call the cops, but like, it could have been like a false alarm. You know, it could have just been like, oh, it's nothing. It's just your neighbor really just bothering you, playing a little joke on you. And then we opened the door. We heard the door open, and we heard like footsteps, like big footsteps. And at that point, we were freaking out. My little sister was with me, and she was just like, she didn't talk. She said no word. And if you know my sister, she's the loudest person I know. And she had no words. And I was just breathing really hard, and I was just like, oh my God. And then I started crying because I was just so freaked out, like, who's in my house? And I was just like, oh my gosh. And Nia, she was like, she was breathing so hard, but it was the funniest thing ever now that I look back at it. And then we were like, okay, someone's in the house, what are we gonna do? We talked to my mom and stuff, and then she was like, okay, stay on the phone with me, blah, 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 as we heard these footsteps coming closer and closer to the pantry. And I have a walk-in pantry, so it's not just like we're in this little, like, thingy. It's a walk-in pantry, so we sort of hid in it. And then I was freaking out because I didn't know what was going on. I was just sort of like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? If we get kidnapped, we're going to jump out this window. And at first, when I first heard it, I thought that someone was coming to get my dog for some reason. I was like, get Chase, someone's coming to get him. It's animal control because he barks too loud. They're going to take him. And that's what I was worried about the most. And I was just like holding Chase close to my chest, and I was like, Chase. But then like now that I really try to get in my house, it's not animal control, so I was really freaking out. And then we heard these big, gigantic, big footsteps, and my dad was not answering his phone. And with my dad, I feel more protected just because he's a man. And I was just like calling him, I was just like, Dad, but he wasn't answering. And basically what happened was Nia was against the door, so she was against the pantry door, and I was like on the other side, I'll show you guys how that is. So Nia was like really, really hard, like against the door, and then I was like this way with Chase on my chest, and then I had Casey was just like in the like crevice of the door, and then basically we started to feel the pantry door being open and the knob being twisted, and at that point, that's when everything just like let loose. I was just like, this is the end of my life. I'm dying. Jesus, take the wheel. I was just so scared because when I felt that door jiggling, I was so scared because like I never really had an experience like this. I've been pretty much safe all my life and nothing has really happened to me. But at that moment, I was just like, this is the end. We're dead. I was thinking about jumping out the window, and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, life or death situation. Jump out the window or die, or be killed or die. So it's just a die or die situation. So I was like freaking out, and Nia, she held the knife, and she was like, no! And she started screaming. And it was the funniest thing I've ever seen, but like at the time, I was so worried that I wasn't like laughing, because who's gonna laugh when they're dying? But you know, I was like sort of sad, and I was just like, and Nia was like, no! But it was the funniest thing ever now that I look back at it. And then Nia, like, she was against the door, and she was trying to press her hardest against the door, and I just put my hands out. I dropped Chase, like I had him. I was like, blah, blast, and I just dropped him, and I felt bad because I wasn't really thinking about it. Like, I didn't even realize until now that I just dropped him on the floor. But I was, like, trying to push against that door with all my strength, and my sister was just, like, looking like, woo, craziness. Hey, Chase. Remember when we almost died? It was pretty sad. And then, the door opened, and we were freaking out. And then all of a sudden, I heard, it's your dad! And I went, no. And he said, it's Daddy! It's Daddy! And I was like, oh my gosh. The whole entire time, it was my dad. And basically, he was just coming in on his lunch break, but he thought that we were upstairs. And, like, he heard something in the pantry. He was just like, are they hiding in here? So he tried opening the door. And then that's when we were freaking out. That's when he heard us screaming and saw the knife. And then he was like, oh my gosh, it's your dad. It's okay. But it was pretty darn terrifying. And after that, I was just like, oh my gosh. I just remember, I felt sort of embarrassed because, like, my dad was like, you're a baby. And I was like, no, I hate motorcycles. And I was like, no, I'm not. Oh my gosh, I'm so scared. But it was pretty scary. And I remember I just went behind this wall and I was just crying. It was just like crazy to think about because anything can happen. Like if my door would have been open and it was actually some type of killer, anything can happen like that. But my door was locked and my dad had the key. So I should have heard the jiggling of the keys, but I didn't. Thank you so much for watching this video. I wanted to start doing more like sit down and talking videos because I don't do that much. And I think sometimes it's good to interact, not just like all videos that are just sort of like videos that are sort of like super planned, you know, like winter expectations versus reality. I really like sitting down and just like talking. It's really fun and I like it. So if you guys want to see more videos like this, just let me know and I'll definitely do more. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to follow me on all my social medias in the links below, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!